Hello everybody, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to this video. This is my feedback to 1.0 and I want to make this as professional as possible because I'm planning to put this video onto the European forums and eventually the NA forums, and I would really appreciate if the people there especially from Wargaming would have a look at that, because there are some things which I think are definitely important to have a look at to make, first of all, the wheeled vehicles much more fun to play, and there are other things in the game which are a little bit weird, so yeah. But yeah, this is my feedback. Let's start with the wheeled vehicles in general. And one first thing I want to point out is that why exactly, when you driving around, you have the option to press 2 times the R button, and then you are just continuously going at full speed basically, or just it's like using W key all the time. So my question is, could you please implement that when you are switching between the cruise mode and the rapid mode, that you are not losing this autopilot, because it is really irritating to me when I'm coming from other tanks like the normal AMX 3105, other light tanks, other medium light tanks, and I'm playing those wheeled vehicles. It's really irritating that we are losing that mode, or like that autopilot basically. It would be great if this would be changed in the upcoming 1.4 common test, like common test situation number 3. Next thing I've noticed with 105, with the tier 9 and tier 8 tanks, is that they in general take a really long time to break, and I guess this is the perk of being so fast, and obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense if those vehicles can basically stop in an instant because they are not Formula 1 cars. But still, I think for gameplay wise it would maybe a little bit better if they have a slightly shorter breakaway, or slightly shorter time to come to a full stop. Plus, I do not know, at the moment I have bound my Q button to the stop and fire key binding, because if I am playing the wheeled vehicles and I'm pressing the S button to slow down to a halt, I usually already start to accelerate again to go backwards. And if I'm pressing spacebar to use handbrakes, for example, to either turn fast or to come to a full stop, it takes way longer than it would take you to stop when using S or the new binded Q button. So I don't know if you really want to look at this or not, but that would be also a pretty good idea, because it's really irritating when you are using the S button to slow down from a forward drive and immediately switch into the backward speed. Hence why I think it would be good if pressing spacebar would make the tank also break down as fast, brake as fast as possible. The next thing, which I think is a little bit unfortunate, is with the new wheeled vehicles we get this speedometer, which is really cool. It shows you how fast you are, in which mode you are, and so on and so forth. Please implement this also when you are zoomed in, because it would be really helpful, especially for better players, when they are trying to aim at somebody and try to lead, when they're like at a gunfight at 300 meters or so. It's really nice when you still see how fast you are and in which mode you are when you are zoomed in. Especially, for example, when you are hiding around a corner, you are zoomed in, you don't know which mode you are, but you are readying up a boost. So as soon as somebody comes around the corner, you can release the spacebar and take the boost. That would be amazing. That would be really cool if you would also implement that. One thing I have to say as a feedback is it's great to see that, I don't really know how you would call it, but on the lower left corner of your screen, of your World of Tanks screen, you see the different modules of your tank, and in this case the wheeled vehicles, and I really like that they are all unique. Very good job. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The next thing in general to the wheeled vehicles is that it would be great if we, the players, could already switch during the 30 seconds of the starting of the game, like the countdown of the 30 seconds, if it would be able to change into rapid or cruise mode. That would be really cool if you could implement that as well. I know with the Stritzwagens it doesn't work, but there it has no sense, to be honest. Or maybe think of letting the players start already in rapid mode, because usually at the beginning of the battle you want to get quick into a good position. Yes, it doesn't really matter because it does matter, yes, but you can kind of play around with that when you are immediately doing a boost at the beginning. So, this is my general feedback to the wheeled vehicles. Next up, I want to talk about the tier 10 and the tier 9 and the tier 8 tank, because these were the ones which I played more or less a lot, or the most. First, the 105, the tier 10 tank. I like the concept. I do think though that it's a little... I like the idea that you nerf the top speed to 95 kilometers per hour and nerf the top speed in general a little bit. Still, the cruise mode is, in my personal experience, very, very finicky to use. Like, you immediately start to overturn or over-angle your vehicle, and this makes trying to traverse a small space, for example, Lakeville, the middle road, or on Mountain Pass, the bridge, can make it really hard when you need to make minor corrections. So I think it would be a good idea to change that a little bit up so that you need to press for a certain period of time, like, I don't know, 0.5 seconds, the down arrows, A and D, down arrows, A and D buttons, before you are going to use fully the angle of attack you can use on those steering. That would be a good idea to make the mobility mode or the cruise mode less finicky and better to use. Next up, I think that the tier 10 tank has still a really, really good fuel range, because when you are investing in a good crew with brothers in arms, with with situational awareness, with coded optics, with the tank commander skill, and Wentz and coffee or the extra rations, you get on exactly, or for my case at least, 445 meters of fuel range. Because at the moment camo braking is not really useful, I think that nerfing the fuel range back down to 445 meters, to not achieve those 445 meters, could make this tank maybe a little bit more balanced. But at the moment the test server is pretty hard to see how exactly it's going to work out compared to the live server where many more people are playing and we have a different meta, basically. But those are my two concerns about the 105. Maybe consider upgrading a little bit the penetration of the standard shells to probably 200, 210 millimeters, because it is really frustrating to know that when you come from a tier 8 tank all the way to a tier 9, 10 tank even, that you are gaining a total of 8 to 5 millimeters of penetration on your standard rounds. That's really sad to think about. So I would really glad to see if the EBR 105 would get a small penetration buff for its standard shells. To the tier 9 tank, I didn't play it that much, but what I've also found is that the cruise mode once again is pretty finicky. But about the tier 8 tank, the tier 9 tank finicky, the tier 8 tank feels very good to drive. Yes, you nerf the speed down, which I'm totally fine with it, but I think it would be a good idea if you copied or have a look at the stats of the cruise mode in the tier 8 tank and compare it to the tier 10 tank, because the tier 8 tank feels much smoother to drive in cruise mode and in rapid mode than the tier 10 tank is. So I don't know what exactly is there, but have a look at it, because it really feels much better playing the tier 8 tank mobility-wise than playing the tier 10 tank. Like, having the mobility of the tier 8 tank and having the speed of the tier 10 tank on the tier 10 tank would be amazing and would feel really, really good. Now, another thing is, I don't know if this is intended, but the tier 8 tank loses a great amount of speed when he hits an obstacle like a tree, like a fence, like a car or something. It's a lot of speed which you lose, I don't know why, but maybe you have a look at this as well, because it's kind of annoying in my opinion. Next up, or one more thing, but this is a little bit of a troll thing, so don't take it too serious. This tank in real life can swim. Why can't it swim in game? Kappa, please buff this tank so it can swim. Anyway, that's not really important. Next thing you've said in 1.4, which is pretty important, is that you made the missions easier, and I have to say thanks a lot. That's great. Makes the tank more accessible for not so skilled players or the lesser skilled player base, and this should not be an insult. Seriously, it's a good idea. I also think that the Chimera buffs are totally fine because the Chimera is not really a tank. I don't have it personally, so I can't talk from experience. And the same will be with the 279, which I'm coming to shortly. But the tier 9 tank, the Chimera buffs are, in my personal opinion, a good idea, and they should make this tank more enjoyable to play. And you didn't increase the DPM, which I'm totally fine with, because we don't want to have another SU 130 PM, and we do not want to have another Scorpion G, basically. The DPM is low. For that, you have 440 alpha on a medium tank, which is, in my personal opinion, totally fine. It has worse DPM than the M4A1 Revalorisé, but for that, it's fast and has more armor. Exactly, I really do like what you did with those buffs to the Chimera. Again, good, leave it. But the 279, and I would really recommend the Wargaming staff to look at the video of Skill for LTU. He has a tank, he plays it, he wants to free market, obviously, because he's Skill for LTU. And I do not like the idea of nerf or buffing the whole of the tank, like the body of the tank, from 20 millimeters or 30, how you say it in your videos, to 55, because this means that every single shell, except Jack Panzer 100 AP, FV 4005 Stage 2 AP, and FV 183 AP, pen it. Automatic pen it, basically. All the other calibers can't pen it, and this is really bad thing, because at the moment, you probably know that many people dislike the Type 4 and Type 5 Heavy for having no frontal weak spot. And at the moment, you, as Wargaming, are wanting to buff a reward tank, which is blocked by missions which are really hard to do, even for skilled players, and takes a lot of time, like getting 10 rounds to warrior medals, which is, again, really hard to do, but totally okay because it's a good tank. And you're giving basically the skilled players a tank which no one really can penetrate without shooting gold, or special ammunition, how you're calling it. So please do not introduce this buff to the lower plate. I think the gun, yes, you can buff it. It's not that big of a deal, but removing that lower plate weak spot or the body weak spot makes this tank so much brain dead to play, because now the player doesn't even need to look at how he approaches a hill, for example, if he decides to go on the hill on Prokhorovka, or when he decides to drive over smaller hills to just YOLO an enemy, because at the moment he has to wait for the enemy to shoot so he doesn't get tracked and loses HP and stands there like a sitting duck. After this patch, in many situations, it doesn't matter anymore, and they all just plain simply drive over those imaginary hills, for example, as here in the example, which I want to provide, and drive, and you can basically do nothing, and the upper hull is almost impenetrable when you're not shooting gold ammunition. So please do not introduce the buff to the underbelly, because this will make this tank immensely powerful, even in clan wars, even in pub games, and this can deter even more players, because those tanks are not accessible for all players like Type 4, Type 5 Heavies are. This tank is only accessible for players which are really good at that game and have used a lot of time to get those tanks. So again, do not introduce that, because it will not make this tank good, and there will be a lot of backslash. After DE What Life, which has the EU server stats, I'm not sure how accurate they are. The tank has 65% win rate, which is one of the highest, and only 249 players have it at the moment of this recording. And the average damage of 3.4k is huge. And once more, this tank at the moment has the highest win rate of all tanks. Not even Su-76I, not even Panzerkampfwagen 2 Ausführung J, not even T-22 Medium have better win rate than the Object 279 early. So I really would suggest to not introduce the buffs to the 279. Or at least do not introduce the belly buff to 55 millimeters. Okay, two more things before I come to something different. Inscriptions, I think, is a really cool idea with the numbers, but once give us the opportunity to also just give it one number instead of 3. Like if you just want to have your tank to be number 1 and not 001. Give us the opportunity or the option to only use 1, 2, or 3 letters, how we please. Another thing is, why exactly are certain numbers blocked? Can you explain? For example, 666, yes, it's the number of the devil, but in World of Warships you have the ship, tier 9 ship, the Black, USS Black, and it has a big 666 planted in front of it, so why exactly is that banned? Just want to know, would be good. But for inscriptions, just introduce us the option to use only 1, only 2, or using all 3 digits. That would be great. To the multicore, I personally experienced great improvements. I'm happy about it. While streaming, I had no real drops in FPS, which I normally have when I'm playing on live server. Yes, I do play with mods though on live server, so yeah, can be a little bit weird, but totally okay with that. Seriously, totally okay with that. Really well done. And now there are just 2 or 3 more things I want to talk about, which are just miscellaneous, so like just random things which I noticed. First, Object 268 version 4 is now around for roughly a year. In 9.22 you introduced it, and still there is a graphic glitch of the mantlet, the gun mantlet, or the fiber of the gun mantlet glitching through the gun barrel or something. I don't really know how to explain it correctly. You should see it in the footage I'm providing in the background. When you are aiming to the left, you can see that there are 2 circles which are basically of the fabric are glitching through the gun mantlet. So I don't know, maybe fix that, because that would it's a small thing and there are more important things, but it would be cool if you would fix that as well. Then one thing which I had a little bit of troubles to recreate, and I'm not sure if you already patched, but while testing it on a 1.4 test server, I've got a feeling that it's still there. And basically, on Prokhorovka, when you are playing, for example, the Stridswagen 103B, because this is with the tank I experienced it the most, and drive onto the hill, there is a small spot on the left side, and you are sliding there like hell, and it's kind of awkward to explain, but your tracks lose a lot of traction, and you slide for a really long time before you actually gain traction again. And this is also at the moment also on Himmelsdorf when you drive onto the hill and are driving on the plastered plates when you have been spawned in the south side of the map beside church and you drive onto the hill. And it's really annoying, and I would like to see you fixing that, so like not making it ice or something, or I don't know what the terrain coefficient is there, but try to fix that. And one last thing, which is in my personal opinion really important, have a look at the bushes, because I have you now in the background a little bit of a replay where I'm playing the ABR in a testing room or so with 2 friends, and I wanted to show you that this bush right in front of us is 50% density. When the values of the camo value camo value calculators are correct, it has 50% density. And if even a type 5 heavy is standing behind it, he can shoot. It has to be 50 meters behind the bush basically, and basically just stand beside the house and you're okay. He can shoot and will not get spotted until you drive 250 meters close, when you have 445 meters of view range. At 250 meters, I think he gets spotted when he shoots, and at 240 meters, he will get spotted no matter what he's doing. I think there are a lot of bushes out there in the game which have such huge density, and this is just one example, and please revisit those bushes, because they can destroy the game you want to play so much that I was so angry that I did a video on talking about, actually, I really want to quit this game because of such annoying bushes. But now today I decided against it and wanted to give you my feedback to 1.4, saying what could be added, what are bugs I've noticed. Thank you so much for your attention. Again, I really hope that this video will somehow get to Wargaming and they're having a look at it and taking it serious. And if so, Thank you so much for your attention, really. I am speaking 20 minutes now in my Swiss Germanish English mixture. And again, it's really, really good and great that you've took the time to listen through all of this. Thank you so much and have a great day.